We're into the knockout stage of the Aimchess US Rapid. And there was high drama today. We're into the quarterfinals. And I'm going to focus on the match between Alireza Firouzja and Wesley. So, Firouzja won the first set. Incredibly, Wesley, by the skin of his teeth, managed to hit back and win the second set. So they went into a blitz tiebreak. First game was drawn. How Wesley didn't put that away, I don't know. Firouzja, he's so tricky. So first blitz game drawn, and this is the second blitz game. Alireza Firouzja with the white pieces. Wesley So playing a Petrov. And so far so good, everything normal. And here, of course, the main moves are d4 and knight c3 is popular at the moment as well. Bishop d3, slightly unusual variation. This is actually a favourite of Morozevich's. The idea is that if the knight goes back, you're going to play c3, bishop c2, and then d4. And in that way, straighten out white's pieces. But d5 holds the knight in the middle. Queen e2. Threatening to take a pawn. And queen e7 holds that knight on e4. So castles. And now black has a slight problem. What to do about here? There's a bit of a traffic jam. White has a slight problem because that bishop blocks the d-pawn. So this bishop can't get into the game easily. So black plays knight d6. Of course, if the queens are exchanged, white has nothing. So queen d1, a lot of toing and froing at the moment with the idea of rook e1, so the queen steps back. Rook e1 check, bishop e7, knight c3, hits the d-pawn, which is protected by the c-pawn. And here Morozevich tried queen e2 against Kramnik, but got nowhere after bishop g4. Instead, b3 from Firouzja, and I prefer that move. Just looking to develop the bishop on one of these squares. Castles and bishop a3. So there's a little bit of pressure here. That's quite nice. Basically, if black could develop the queen side, then there shouldn't be any problems. But just for a moment, it's a little bit tricky. Bishop g4. With a pin, h3. Of course, if black takes, then that puts the queen on a nice square. So bishop h5, maintaining the pin and looking perhaps to put the bishop on g6 to exchange off that bishop. Queen e2. And this position is already quite tricky. Very difficult position, actually, for black, surprisingly. So obviously there's a threat here. If rook e8 looks like the most natural move, then queen e5 threatens the bishop and bishop takes knight, exploiting this pin. That's the problem. So instead, bishop f6, again, looks very natural, seems fine. Queen e3, there's a nice creeping move. Just stepping up the board, ready to come to f4 and exploiting that pin again. Suddenly, there are a few threats in the position and black has yet to develop that knight on the queen side. Means the rook is also blocked in. Rook e8 hits the queen. Queen f4 attacks the knight. Now I'm going to return to this position at the end of the game because this has actually been played before. But let's see what happened in the game. Rook, and there's a strange coincidence actually. So rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. The knight comes back to e8. Black is so close to just sorting out his development. And for example, if this knight gets in the game, then black should be all right here. But watch what happens. g4, white has the initiative just for a move. Bishop takes. And now there is a really lovely move for white. Queen b4. Threatening the pawn on b7, but also that killer check on f8, supported by the bishop. That is the problem in the position. Very, very easy to miss a move like that. These sideways queen moves often overlooked, well, particularly in a blitz game. So, for example, knight a6, you can check here, and bishop e7 is a great move, which means that f7 is going to cave in. So in the game, Wesley had to just compromise and play knight d7, which covers f8, but then queen takes b7, captures a really important pawn in the position. Because now this one is vulnerable, this one is vulnerable as well. Rook c8. So it's a clear pawn up for white. So could Alireza consolidate his extra pawn? Could he keep it tight and convert? If he could, he'd be through to the semi-final. Let's see, knight c7. Now there's a tricky move from Wesley. So the knight comes off the back rank and wants to head to e6 and maybe looking at some nice squares here. Probably the safest move here is to play bishop d6, which covers a few squares on the king side. But, well, Alireza was brave. He took on c6 and took on d5, but now the position is a little chaotic. Although white is 2 pawns up, somehow this rook is looking a bit dangerous. This knight could perhaps come in here. Probably the most prudent move here is knight c3 to protect the queen, but bishop d6. Well, that looks nice to cover this square, but in fact, if black plays knight f8, pinning, that's still very tricky. Wesley also wanted to exploit that pin with knight c5, which looks really dangerous. If knight takes, then queen takes, hits the queen, and then you come back and exploit that pin, and there is a problem for white. That's Wesley's idea. Very tricky. So what do you play here with white? Well, Alireza came up with a good move. Knight c3. The knight returns from the edge and covers the queen so that the bishop can now move, and there's now a threat to take the knight. Bishop takes, pawn takes. So the queen is unprotected again. And Wesley is hoping to randomize with knight f4. But actually, of course, it can't be taken because of the queen. But queen takes knight. And now if knight d3, then queen c7 is simply winning for white. So Wesley tries to get through to white's king. Knight takes f2 looks scary. Second rank is now exposed, but king g3, a nice delicate step up the board. And actually this just kind of holds things together. Queen d7 threatens the g4 pawn, queen d4. Now that is the kind of chunky move that you want to make in a blitz game. Holds everything together, centralizes, holds the bishop, holds the pawn on g4, cuts out any nonsense with knight d3. So tactically holds everything together. It just feels like a really secure move. And in fact, black really has nothing left in this position. White is just a piece up. And the game finished like this. Queen c6. Bishop f4. And after queen c8. Threatening that pawn again, but bishop d2 cuts out the rook, protects the pawn here, and that knight is doomed on f2. So nice technique at the end by Alireza Firouzja, who goes through to the semi-final with that victory. Very close second day, actually. Very close indeed. Let me take you back to that 16th move, because there's a curious coincidence. In fact, this position has been seen before in the game between Alexander Grishuk and Fabiano Caruana in a rapid play game. Instead of rook e1 as Wesley played, Caruana took on f3. Bishop takes d6. This is the game. So Grishuk against Caruana, Leuven 2018. Bishop c7. This is very awkward for black. Once again, it's because that knight isn't developed. The rooks are split. That's the problem. Queen c8. You have to hang on to the rook on e8. Bishop f5. This is a problem. If knight d7, queen d6 wins because of the pin. Rook e1. This is how the game went. The queen is attacked. Queen f8. Bishop d6. And that queen is running out of moves. After this, what was Grishuk's winning move? This is fascinating. Incredible coincidence. Or maybe not. Queen b4. Once again, this move. This time the bishop is on d6, not on a3, but still, it's very powerful. Threatening the pawn. And if black tries to save that, then bishop c7, the queen runs out of squares. Queen takes bishop, rook e8 is mate. And if queen f8, bishop takes pawn check, and you win the queen. So after this, Caruana had to simply give up the b-pawn, and here, well, he was completely lost. In a very similar way to Wesley. And, well, Grishuk managed to wrap this one up very, very easily. Fascinating stuff. Incredible coincidence, or not. I don't know. It's just that it's a motif in this position, this queen b4 idea, that it's definitely worth remembering. In fact, this whole line looked very, very dangerous, I have to say. Very interesting move, bishop d3. But frankly, little suggestion. In this position, instead of queen e7, which many people have played, why not just give up that pawn? Doesn't black have good compensation here? Two bishops, easy development. And white is lagging behind here. But anyway, I'll leave that for you to investigate if you played the Petrov. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe, and do consider supporting us via PayPal or Patreon. Thank you.